When you think about the sport of hockey, what comes to mind? Maybe the first time you put on your skates, took your first adventure out onto the ice. Maybe it was the first time you jumped on a frozen pond or lake and played a pickup game with your buddies. Maybe it was the first game you actually played hockey and the nerves you remember from that experience. Or maybe it's your first NHL game and the excitement it ran through your body. You may remember some big snow days where you were able to get out and shoot the puck around. But here in Alabama, it's a much different story. You see, Alabama is only 500 feet above sea level, making it one of the 10 lowest states in the nation. Our average snowfall per year is 1 inch, and that's against the U.S. average of 28 inches. So waking up to a big snow and dreaming of getting out on the ice and skating is really far-fetched. But in late September into October, you may see a mirage of snow in the state of Alabama as you pass a grove of trees opening up to a field below, laden with white dust. No, it's not snow, but it's one commodity that is synonymous with the state of Alabama, and that's cotton. For a brief moment, you feel like you're staring at a beautiful blanket of snow laying over a field, and just around the bend, you imagine a frozen pond ready for you to skate on. Now, I'm not the expert, but I can give you my perspective on the game, how I came to know it and love it and enjoy it to this day. So join me for this journey of hockey fandom with a southern twist as we look at the history of hockey in the South, lore of some of the players, the game itself, and sports card collecting in this series, High Cotton Hockey. Welcome in and thanks for joining me for the first episode of High Cotton Hockey on the channel. My name's Ryan, Southern Card Collector, and this series is going to be a challenge. And the reason why is I'm still learning a lot about this sport. Even though I've watched it on and off ever since I was about 9 years old, I still don't know a lot about the sport. It's something that is not a huge sport here in the state of Alabama, and that was kind of the purpose of running this series. Was one, I wanted to challenge myself to learn more. Two, I wanted to really kind of research how hockey grew in the state and the fact that it's still here, and there's a large group of people who really enjoy this sport in the southern state. I know that the NHL has branched out and has its roots in the South, all the way down into Florida, Nashville, and spent some time in Atlanta. But I want to talk a little bit about hockey in the state of Alabama. And a lot of people don't know that there's some really deep roots in hockey that dates back to the 1970s and are still prevalent today. So that's the take that we're going to have, and that's the challenge for me. I think it's going to help me do some research and get a little bit of a history lesson, but at the same time, I'm going to try to share those stories through memorabilia, through whether it's trading cards or some type of sports memorabilia from that era. I want to use that on the channel to tell those stories. And so to start off with, I guess I'll just tell you my story a little bit. Hockey was introduced to me when I was about 9 years old. I owned a Sega Genesis, and I guess I didn't know it, but I owned a Sega Mega Drive at the time because I was introduced to hockey through the video game Mario Lemieux Hockey. It was released in the United States in 1991, and like I said, it was exclusive for the Sega Mega Drive. And it was originally going to be titled Sega Ice Hockey, and I believe that was the original title for the European market. But it was packaged out, and it was sent in two different types of packaging. You could just get the game itself, but it also came in a packaging that had a hockey puck along with it, and it had a facsimile autograph of Mario Lemieux on that. You can still find those today. They're out there on eBay. But this game was something that really drew me in. I really enjoyed the gameplay, and I really enjoyed it playing it more at the time than things like Tecmo Bowl or something like that, in the motocross games that were out. But on a 16-bit machine, it was just a really exciting game to play. And I believe the gameplay was left to right. It wasn't where you could see the goal up and down the ice. So I think I played that game for hours. But that's how I was introduced to hockey. And I really enjoyed it when I was about 11 years old. As you can see on the screen, this puck here, This is the Birmingham Bulls, and this was around the 93-94 season for the Bulls. At the time, they were members of the ECHL, and they would play at the Birmingham Jefferson Civic Center in downtown Birmingham, Alabama, and they would draw some pretty massive crowds. And as I got doing some research, I figured out that they've been around since the 1970s, the late 1970s. Disappeared for a while and then came back in the early 90s to Birmingham. Was there for a pretty long stint and then disappeared again. And the Bulls have been back in Birmingham over the past, I believe, 3 years or so. So Birmingham Bulls hockey is still around. And that is kind of where we're going to start this story in understanding the state of Alabama as it ties to the sport of hockey. Currently, the Bulls are part of the SPHL, the Southern Professional Hockey League. But their roots began in the WHA. And that's where the stories get interesting, and we find some pretty cool characters to go along with it. On the screen, I've just got a few cards that I want to show you that kind of reflect some of my collecting in this sport and what I'll be going after, things that I like. So the top two cards you can see are Young Guns cards. I know that Young Guns are very popular with hockey collectors. On the left-hand side, you see Sebastian Aho, who is definitely an up-and-coming young player, very good forward, so hope that he ends up having a really great career. Carolina there with Svechnikov, they're something else. But on the right hand side, you see Philip Forsberg, and I just picked this card up recently. It's PSA Slad, but I didn't buy it for that reason. It was the cheapest card I could find of Forsberg, and it just so happened to be graded. But I'm a Predators fan, and you can see that in the cards on the screen. So I'm definitely going after those Young Gun cards of Predators. I'm not necessarily buying cards in hockey as an investment or worried about the price or just, there's some great players over time, but I'm not necessarily chasing those guys like Lemieux or Yager or Iserman, any of those from that era. But I do want to go back and start collecting the Nashville Predators stuff. They came into the league in 1998. And that was a pretty cool thing. So as you can see here, we got this nice Mike Dunham O-Pee-Chee Chrome refractor. It's a beautiful looking card. And then we have an O-Pee-Chee Platinum of Ryan Johansson. This is the Trax version. So just some good looking stuff. I like chromium cards, so I'll definitely be drawn to Platinum. And I'll definitely be going back looking at some of the chrome stuff from the late 90s into the early 2000s. And there's a lot of specific stuff out there as well. My hope is to bring you some interesting content that will give you some education about maybe some hockey that you're not familiar with. So I look forward to this series. I hope you will join me and maybe you'll learn something new about hockey that you didn't know and give you a little insight into the hockey fandom of a Southerner and someone who's still learning the game. So I appreciate any comments down below, any insight that you can give me, and definitely correct me if I make any mistakes. Thank you for joining me for this first video, and I'll see you at the next puck drop.